Breaking news. This Wuhan supervirus has escaped a lab. Everyone knows that this Wuhan supervirus has escaped a lab. And what is the government waiting for to address the issue exactly? How long is it going to take before there's a bulletin that comes through that says, hey, this supervirus that's coming to your town, it's a military weapon made to destroy America? When are they going to come out with the truth and just explain it to people so that they can prepare for what's coming, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, when a hurricane is on the horizon, you know, they send out planes, there's live coverage 24/7 everywhere. But where are the reports now? You know, if you listen to the government spokespeople out there, you know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks into this crisis, they're still talking about the wet market like it just came out of some kind of animal. But it didn't come out of a bat or a snake or an anteater. It came out of a weapons lab 3 blocks away from the seafood market. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on here. And yet these people on television are just letting in all the airplanes, the cruise ships, you name it. And they're treating it like it's no worse than the cold. Whether it be the news reports or, you know, the spokespeople for the government, they're just like, yeah, no worries. They're not saying anything. They're like, come on in. It's like all these, you know, immigrants that they release, catch and release. It's the same policy. Even though this mega death virus is within our shores, thousands of suspected cases according to experts right now. And in fact, we're still real early into this epidemic. It's still in the pregnancy phase where it's impregnating, you know, all the cities, all the towns. And before long, it'll look like China in the USA. They're going to be shutting everything down. They're going to be locking down every building, every mall, every school. And it starts little by little. First, they say no traffic in or out of the city. Then they say you can only go out once every 2 days to do your shopping. Then it'll be once every 3 days, once every 7 days. And now in Wuhan, they're no longer allowed to go outside. If they're found outside, they'll be picked up immediately and rendered to a quarantine zone. The UK has already passed laws saying if you're suspected of having the virus, they can arrest you. We're going to be walking straight into medical martial law in just a few weeks because a weaponized military-grade supervirus has escaped the lab and is circulating around the world. And it's killing tons of people. I mean, the drop-dead virus, there's a reason why they're sealing off all these buildings and liquidating everyone they can. This virus goes latent, dormant, like herpes, and comes back. There's no cure. There'll never be a cure. There'll never be a vaccine. It'll always be the hunt for suspected cases. And if you're a conservative out there, if you're a Christian out there, you can bet that these goons in white suits will be coming to a neighborhood near you, rounding you up, ladies and gentlemen. And we can tell that this story is going to end rather poorly. It keeps getting worse. It's been nearly a month, and it keeps getting worse. Day after day, the numbers keep going higher. And they're doing everything they can to fan the flames of this epidemic. And little by little, we'll end up just like the Chinese, liquidated, because nobody wants to do anything about the situation, ladies and gentlemen. What can be done about what's going on? That is the question. At this stage, there's not much anyone can do to put this genie back in the bottle. This virus has been released and it's been introduced into our country, and it's been allowed to grow. At this stage, there's no stopping this epidemic. And while people might be getting impatient, right now it's still very early in this epidemic. We're only on week 4. And right now there's estimated to be about 3,500 cases in America, hiding within the flu season. Only some of those cases will end up being pneumonia, and their tests aren't picking up the positives 4 out of 5 times. So they're not going to see this until there's at least 100,000 cases, which essentially could be, 3 or 4 weeks from now, perhaps even longer. We're starting to learn about all the little secrets this virus has to offer. It's a hybrid with HIV. It kills off the immune system, and then it starts attacking the internal organs like Ebola, causing heart attacks in some cases, and people are just dropping dead right there in the streets. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why they got all these FEMA coffins. This is why they've got that internet kill switch. This is why they've got these death towers everywhere. This is why they got MRAPs for all the police departments. They're going to come pick you up just like this girl. 2 libtards in spacesuits, and they'll be done with you. That's it. They'll just say you're infected, and nobody will come help you. Who's going to give somebody CPR now, ladies and gentlemen? I think we're going to need a robot for that. Any case, look, it's been a month just about since the Wuhan lockdown. The situation keeps getting worse, and if it seems better, it's because they're faking the numbers, and they're disappearing the journalists. They're disappearing everybody out there. There'll be nobody left before long, and it'll look better that way. It'll look better than people dropping dead in the streets. It'll look better than watching videos show up on the internet. And, they're attacking this epidemic on all fronts. They're arresting journalists as well as censoring information on the internet. We talked about the infamous fake book World Health Organization meeting that took place last Thursday with all the big tech companies. And right now, if you search for, virus on Twitter or ScrewTube and the like, you're just going to see, come get your coronavirus information here. But they don't want people to know. They're not telling people what's going on. Why is that? Why do they still insist today officially that this just came out of the seafood market? It went through the seafood market, and that's, pretty obvious. But it didn't start at the seafood market. It started at the weapons lab right next door. And so they think like the entire world's stupid. They're like, oh yeah, no, it happened in Wuhan. It happened at the seafood market. Oh, you mean the seafood market right next door to the bioweapons facility? That seafood market? Oh, ho, 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 ho. Yes, that seafood market. So they've been dishonest since the beginning. And it wouldn't have, been such a big deal to tell people what's going on. Sure, they would have panicked, but they're going to panic anyways once this super virus hits their town. You can't avoid the panic in this situation, but they could avoid quite a bit of deaths, and they're just not doing it. It's like another 9/11. The planes are 20 miles out. The planes are 10 miles out. Do the orders still stand? Of course the orders still stand. And I think that's what should bother, everybody out there. They're turning the entire country into, the Diamond Princess. You know, they're like, hey, you know, everything's going to be okay. Just chill out in your room, watch TV, you know, and then everybody's infected. And so there must be something else that can be done. Right now, the Chinese are hunting down and probably killing everyone that's suspected of having this virus. Maybe we should, you know, start being a little proactive as well. There's a lot of demonic people out there that look infected. And you know that as soon as they do get this virus, they'll be spreading it to a town near you. Makes you wonder what people are waiting for. It already looks like civil war out there. But they must want an invitation to the gas chamber before they'll consider it. But you'll never get that official invitation, ladies and gentlemen. These people are backstabbers, and they'll just wait for you to be distracted watching the television to Zyklon C your ass. Zyklon C for coronavirus. Seems like the video guy is on vacation. There's FEMA camps everywhere and a militarized killer virus headed your way. What do you think you should do out there, ladies and gentlemen? Grab your ankles? Did you remember to stock up on the Astroglide? Because the government's coming to town and they're going to want to help you. You knew this was coming out there, ladies and gentlemen. For years, you knew this was coming, but you thought you had more time. Unfortunately, the clock is running out. And, you know, people just don't know what to do. What can you do? Where is this president right now? What are they doing other than preparing their deep underground military base? But chances are they've already been infected. And you can bet that they sent a whole bunch of tourists to Washington, D.C. to shake everybody's hand out there. They probably even gave them $10,000 or $100,000 to donate to the campaign. Get a nice little selfie. Maybe even a dinner. Or how about a rally? How many people are infected right now? Nobody knows. But we talked about, you know, the built-in time bomb or the built-in fuse of this outbreak. And it requires community virus load to be effective. It takes time to build up in the community so that people can keep reinfecting themselves and making the situation worse. And that essentially is the clock that we're working against. And according to the most recent estimates, it may not be for another 2 or 3 weeks before we see this ugly death virus emerge in our city streets. But it's coming. And you just have to wonder, why does the government continue to say that this came out of a wet market, the wet market right next door to the Wuhan bioweapons lab? They could have just mentioned that right away so that people knew what they were dealing with. But most of the sheeple out there still today have no idea. And they'll never have an idea of what's going on because this virus is meant for them, essentially, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing else to say other than this virus is coming for Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's the perfect bioweapon. It was designed as a doomsday device, designed as another 9/11. And so this thing is going to hit. And they're going to, you know, capitalize on it and turn it into an excuse to lock down this country forever. And so it's going to be, you know, rather interesting to cover the latest events as they unfold. And we're certainly not going to repeat everything that we've discussed in previous broadcasts for the most part. As far as incubation, the way it spreads, and all of that. But perhaps we should, for those that haven't caught on to what's going on out there, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stealth weapon. Most people don't manifest symptoms. People can be infected in as little as 15 seconds through a conversation. They can reinfect in as little as 1 day after being infected. Sometimes they won't get symptoms for up to 3 weeks. But as soon as symptoms begin, they end up in the hospital rather quickly. Other than that, the Chinese seem to think that this virus is spreading through the sewers, through the pipes, through the air. It may even absorb through the skin. The white papers, the research, the universities are all saying now that this virus escaped the lab because it's a chimera with HIV, a pseudovirus. And this is exactly the kind of experiments they run in a lab. They love mixing viruses with HIV to discover new features about proteins and the like. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, what else can you say? This virus is still coming. The television is still lying to you. The numbers keep going up. This is no longer, a short-term, acute kind of outbreak. This is going to be long-term. It's going to be around for years. It's going to destroy the world economy. Everything's going to crash. People are going to stay at home and connect to the internet full-time. If they go outside, they have to wear a mask. Our worlds are about to change right now, ladies and gentlemen. And, if it makes any difference, there really wasn't much they could do, even from day one. It was too late. As soon as, most people found out what happened, it was already here. It was over before it really began. And so all there is to do now is to wait for, Sodom and Gomorrah to burn on live television and to protect yourselves, to ride out this storm and to be a survivor out there. That's all that's left to do. Otherwise, we just got to wait. But it's still very early in this epidemic. If you do the math right now, it's expected that only 15% of the cases have been picked up. 85% of the cases have gone unreported. And right now there's 15 cases in America plus the 14 they brought in from the Diamond Princess. So if you take the conservative 15 and you divide that by 85%, we get about 100 cases. There's probably 100 cases that were seeded in that went under the radar, dispersed in big cities around America, probably mostly in California and the like. And so right now, after 4 weeks or 5 weeks of incubation, of doubling every 3 days or so, we're still early on in this outbreak. And there's only a couple thousand cases right now. And in a few days, there'll be 4,000 cases. And a few days after that, it'll be 8,000 cases. A few days after that, it'll be, nearly 20,000 cases. But before, a fraction of those cases show up in the hospitals, it could still be weeks. So you still have time to prepare and, to enjoy life as it is out there. But remember that things are going to change, and no matter what, this virus is out there now. Unfortunately, there really isn't much more that we're going to report on this situation today. We did a live broadcast on the ScrewTube. We talked about some of the latest findings, and we recommend that everybody check that out. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Oh, the video guy. The video guy. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.